So Pukar, one thing that I do want to ask you a little bit about is that concept of scale, right? As founders, it's so exciting to build something and so on. And then once it reaches a critical mass, once it's popular, people like it and so on, the next thing to do is scale, right? In terms of how do you scale your company, how do you scale your product and so on. And I think that's something that we don't hear a lot of Nepali founders really talk about. Like, share just a little bit about what you're learning as you grow your company, as you're thinking about bigger things to tackle and so on, in terms of what that focus on scale means.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think I probably need more advice on this area than I'm in a position to give. Since we're still like working through so many of these scaling challenges. You know, it's sort of interesting. I think as a founder, as a builder, as a leader, right? Along with some of the other leaders that we have in the company, there's always this challenge between being a startup and then sort of like graduating from that mindset. Right. And I think it's actually quite dangerous to like leave the startup mindset, actually. I go back to the sort of like YC Paul Graham quote, which is like, the first quote that everybody knows is like, make something people want, which, right. You do, and then do things that don't scale. Right. And I think, I think a little bit of more color to that is be prepared to do things that don't scale for much longer than you think you might need to do them.
Exactly.
And scaling is going to be like this constant challenge of, for you. But I think it requires you to like do things that don't scale for a little bit longer, and then figuring out how to scale those things. And that's like the real challenge of like of this, right? And so, fundamentally, I think it starts with just like getting the right team around you. Right, getting a right team of leaders, right? Like, I've just, I'm a two-time founder, but I haven't built a company to like hundreds of people before, right? Before SecurityPal, so I don't have that experience. See, I have to rely on people that have that experience, right? And being lucky enough to like have leaders like that, like join us on our mission to be able to do that. So I think it starts with the recruiting. It starts with having a vision. And really, I think continuously like leaning into customers. I think your customers can be some of your greatest problem solvers, right? Mm-hmm. Your customers are really like your partners, and they want to help you solve their problems. Right. They're great people to like work with, especially early customers, to brainstorm. Like, how do you think I would do this? How do you think I would do that? Like,
they can be amazing partners.
They can be incredible partners, right? And our customers are just so amazing, and they have such incredible ideas. And we're truly blessed to have the type of customers that we have. And so, the team plus the customers plus having recruiting the right set of leaders, those are really like the precursor ingredients to getting to that scale. I think it also helps to set the correct mission and vision. You want people speaking the right language, sort of like rowing in the same direction, right? And so like one of the things we did was like we wrote out our values, we wrote out our vision, we wrote out our mission. And your mission can change. I think one of the things that like doesn't get talked about often is like companies' missions, companies' visions, they change. Change isn't bad. It's about improvement, like in the step you're iterating. So you can iterate toward a bigger and bigger mission. You can iterate toward a bigger and bigger vision.
And it's that constant learning as well, right? I think it's when you update it, it does not mean you're moving away. It means that you're learning and you're putting that feedback right into it, right?
That's exactly right. And I think sometimes the biggest challenge, I think, with some of the successful founder narratives that exist out there, or successful companies, is the dominant narrative that we're all aware of. That's some PR firm crafted,
right?
To smooth out the moments that may not make sense. But like, in reality, there was just a lot of like
ups and
random
downs all the
scribbles and things that don't make sense, and no one's journey is this sort of like smooth rise to the top, right?
Exactly.
Like it feels like that when you've made it.
Right.
You know, it's maybe a little bit like climbing Everest, right? It's not like this, you know, you climb one mountain and then, you know, there's all these like different peaks and valleys on your way to like the mountaintop. And so that I think is like a constant, something I have to constantly actually even remind myself of. Something we should like be aware of, because there's a lot of like really beautifully crafted narratives out there. And, you know, if we took out all the sort of like local minimas, right? Like using it, I don't want to get too like calculus mathy here, but like, you know, if you take out all the local minimas, like everyone's journey just feels like going from one mountaintop to the next, but that's just like not.
Right. And this is just like what we were talking about earlier, right? In terms of that glamorous, sexy life people think, you know, an entrepreneur's journey is, versus the reality of these scribbles and these random things and the constant changes and everything, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought I would have never guessed, fast forward like 2019, when I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do with my life. So it's just like a couple of years ago. And, you know, the last startup I was at didn't necessarily have the type of success I wanted. I actually wanted to leave tech. I wanted to maybe go into a completely different direction. And I was on the verge of like, you know, applying to maybe business school, maybe applying to like, I'd always wanted to go into public policy. Wasn't really sure, like, you know, completely lost in many ways, right? But still passionate about certain things that maybe like had lost sight of those, because I was a little bit disillusioned by you know, the sort of like delusions of grandeur that come with,
of course,
being, you know, and the disillusionment that sometimes accompanies a lot of the glamorous success that you might see on the outside in Silicon Valley. But like, you know, listen, by no means do I feel like I've made it, but I know how to handle those moments now. And you just sort of have to be willing to turn the page in many ways, and or just, you know, close the book, throw it away, and open a new one, right? Like,
you have to move on in a way.
You sort of have to find a way to move on. And I'm blessed for like the folks around me that guided me in the right way. And so I think those are like things that to whoever's listening, I would definitely like recommend not being always believing in yourself maybe is the most important thing, right? Like, believe in yourself. Like, you know, you're sort of capable of a lot more than you even think, because oftentimes like our ceilings are just like the sort of like limits that we put on ourselves are just somebody else's ideas, right? It's you know, somebody says, oh, you can't do that, and then we put a ceiling, and it's just like, why? Like, why can't I do that?
Optical illusion, those stuff. They're not really. They're just like, we think they're real. They're not.
Yeah, exactly.
I so agree.